Welcome back. This is the third lab of the Oracle Database Cloud Service hands-on workshop. In this lab, we're going to speak about performance, scalability, and elasticity. This is the walkthrough video. So I'm going to show you how we can run this lab on our environment from Live Labs. I'm going to start with the task one to change the shape for more CPUs. Let's connect to the PDB 012 database. I'm going to use the console here. I'm still connected on my database cloud service host. And I'm going to show the parameter CPU count. So now I have one single chip CPU with multi-threading enabled. So I have two threads. The CPU count will show 2. The value of the CPU count parameter will show the 2. So I'm going to go to my DBCS system, the database system, and I'm going to change the shape following the instructions in the lab guide. Here, I'm going to navigate back to my Oracle database cloud service. It is under the bare metal VM and Exadata. So I'm going to click my database system. And here I'm going to say change shape. Let's see what shape we're supposed to use. I'm going to use the shape VM standard 2.2, which has 2 CPUs. This will mean that it will have 4 threads, multi-threading enabled, 2 threads per CPU. It's going to have 4 threads. I'm going to click change shape. In case of a database cloud service, changing the shape of the system, of the DB system, means downtime. So the database will be restarted once the shape is changed to the new shape we select from the Cloud Console. So my database is going to be in an updating state until the shape is changed. If changed, this takes a couple of minutes. I may get also disconnected. I'm going to be also disconnected from my C++ session. I'm going to leave it open just to show how it works. But it will take a couple of minutes to change the shape. So you have also here a warning that changing the shape stops running the DB system, and it will restart the same DB system you created on a new compute shape. So we will have both pluggable databases we created. We will have the same data for our application. You can check the sample schemas, for example, to see that your data is still there on the new shape, but the database is going to be restarted on the new compute shape. So you will have to wait until it is completed. You can refresh the page of the Cloud Console to check the progress, but you just need to wait until the system is back again. This is the only detail we have to remember. So let's see if it refreshed. The DB system is updating. All the information here is updating on the Cloud Console, and we need to wait. The shape was changed. Now my database system is available again, and also my database. Let me see if I lost the connection here. Yes, I lost the connection, the SSH connection. I have to reconnect to my host and start a session as Oracle user. So I'm gonna do again a SQL plus to my PDB 012 as sysdba. and I'm supposed to show again the CPU count. Now I have four four CPUs, vCPUs, which is the equivalent of two CPUs with hyperthreading enabled. I think my PDB12 is closed if I do a select username from all users. I think my PDB is closed, of course, and I have to restart to reopen my PDB012. This is opened in just a second. So let me exit the session now and go to the next task. We can also scale up the volumes for our storage for the database. And this is very important to know that storage can be only scaled up and not down. For example, for the CPUs, I can go back to one single CPU. I can change the shape to the previous shape I was using to use just one single CPU. But for the storage, I can go only up. So I'm gonna check the storage here. I have available data storage for my data and the total storage, including backups, redo logs, operating system, and so on. So total storage for my system is 712 gigabytes. And for my database is 256 gigabytes. I can check the same information on my compute, on my database system compute instance on the host. So I can run disk-free minus human readable values, and I can see here, for example, for the data, this is the size of the storage I have for the data storage. This is the available data storage here. This is the volume group I'm using to store data. So it's now 251. I'm gonna scale up the storage for my data. So I'm gonna set scale up. I'm gonna use the scale storage up setting in my DB system console, and I'm gonna specify 512 for the data storage, and I'm gonna say update. It also takes a few minutes to, well, little time until the information is updated and the storage is added to my compute node where my database system is running. And now I can check again here. So it's still 256. I'm gonna, it goes into updating mode. I have to refresh the page to see that it has updated, to see when it has finished the adding the new storage to my DB system. And we have to wait just to a few moments until the storage is added. The DB system has been updated with the new and the new storage has been added. I have now available data storage 512 gigabytes. My database is available. We can also check this on the on the DB system node. I'm gonna run again the disk-free -h command. So here, this volume has been increased to from 251 to 503 gigabytes of storage for the data, and also the rest of the volumes have been also changed accordingly because the total storage size now is close to 1 terabyte. You can check it if you want. You can check it in more detail on your DBCS node, and this is very easy to do. Now we can see how we decide on what kind of resources we need to provision for our database. In order to monitor the database and see how it performs and how it uses the resources available, we need to check the metrics of the database, DBCS. And if we go to the database here on the Cloud Console page, we see that metrics are not available because we have not enabled the data management, the database management services. This is the also the control we have on the Cloud Console to enable the database management services. Before we can click here enable, we need to have certain objects, certain resources on the cloud. And also to make some configuration inside the database. So before I can enable those services, I need to connect to my database, to the CDB, to the container database, CDB root. And here I'm going to run all these commands in order to enable those database management services. When you run multiple commands like this in SQL+, just hit enter at the end to make sure you have run also the last command, which in my case was an exit here. So now I need to go to observability and management, database management, administration on the Cloud Console. So here I need to click on the main menu, observability management, database management, administration. Here I need to create a private endpoint, which I'm going to call workshop private endpoint. I'm going to use just the acronyms. I'm waiting for my Cloud Console to load. And under private endpoints, I'm going to create a private endpoint, call it, and I can specify a description, database management, private endpoint, the compartment. I'm not going to use it for a rack database, and I'm going to leave the VCN and the subnet as they are specified with the default values, because I have only one VCN and only one subnet in my environment here. So I'm going to click create private endpoint. Once the private endpoint is created, I need to create a key, and the encryption key for my database. But before that, I need to create a vault. So I'm going to go to main menu, identity and security vault. The private endpoint is creating. So I'm going to identity and security, and here I'm going to go to vault, and I'm going to create a vault called I'm going to name it workshop vault. Create vault, give it a name, and create vault. When vault is active, so let me refresh the page. I'm going to refresh the page to make sure that the vault is created. I need to create an encryption, a master encryption key. So when the vault is active, it's still creating. The vault has been created, and inside this vault, I'm going to create a key. I'm going to specify the protection mode software, and I'm going to call it workshop key. Protection mode software, workshop key, and create key. And when the key is enabled and created, of course, I'm going to create a secret. The secret is basically the password for my database management service to be able to connect to my database in order to manage the service, to extract the metrics from that database, to monitor the performance of my database, and use the user I have, the DBCS NMP user I just enabled here in this commands. So the key is creating. Again, refresh the page. Until the key is enabled, and then I'm gonna create the secret. I'm switching between the tabs, the two tabs I have here on my browser, between the Cloud Console and the Lab Guide. Let me see if the key is still creating. It takes a minute to create this key. Here it is. This is the key, and I'm going to create the secret. So I'm going to secrets. The name of the secret is the workshop secrets. I'm going to have a description here. I'm going to use the key I just created, the workshop key, and the template is the default one, plain text. And the contents is the password for my database monitoring user, as I was saying, and create secret. So now I have everything I need to enable the database management services. I have the vault with the encryption key, and now the secret is creating. Let's wait for the secret to finish. It also takes maybe 1 minute to create the secret, and then I'm going to go back to my database cloud service, and I'm going to enable management services so I can see the metrics. So my secret is now active. It takes a couple of minutes to create it, and then I have to go back to my database system, Oracle database, bare metal, VM, and Exadata. And here I click my DB system. And under the database I have on this running on this DB system, I'm going to click the enable next to the database management services. So first I'm going to click on the database, which is running on this DB system. I have just one single database with multi-tenant architecture with multiple pluggable databases. And here, database management, it's currently not enabled. I'm going to click enable. And here, I just need to specify the username because all the default values are already selected in the wizard. You can see here the type of the database is bare metal VM. It's a VM in this case. The name of the DB system, the name of the database home, the name of the database, the service name. In this case, the service name I can change it, but I'm going to leave the management for the whole container database. In this case, I'm going to use the default service name with the database unique name and the domain name. And here I'm going to specify the user of the monitoring user, DBS NMP, and the secret, which is storing the password for this user to connect to the database, to the container database with this user. And the private endpoint. This is the private endpoint I'm using, the one I have created, and I can choose between full management and basic management. I want to use full management and click enable database management for this DBCS, database cloud service instance. And also this procedure will take a few minutes to finish. So again, I have to refresh the page. The DBCS goes into an updating state. You can see here it goes into an updating. What it does is actually enabling the database management. You can see here the moving the animated process. It is showing. It shows here on this service now. Before it, when we were trying to change the shape, or we were updating the storage, the animated thingy was around here on this side, but now it goes here on the database management. So we have to wait until the database service is back again, and then we can see the metrics. I'm gonna wait a couple of minutes. I'm gonna refresh the page just to see that the update process and the services have been enabled successfully. But until then, I need to wait a couple of minutes. This is the only thing I can do. Oh, it has been updated already. The database management, you can see it is now enabled in full. I can disable or edit the configuration, but I'm going to leave it like this for the moment because I want to show you the metrics. So now I can see the metrics here on the page under the metrics for my database instance, for the full container database. And here I can see the CPU utilization, the storage utilization, block changes, the number of statements executed, and so on. And this is how I know that my database needs more resources. So I started basically with the scaling up and down for the shape and the storage. The storage is just up. But then in the end, I'm trying to show why I'm scaling up those resources and what are the reasons behind the scaling my resources, the shape of the DB system and the storage for my DB system, the data storage. And now you can see that these are the metrics, and here I can see I'm not using basically any storage at this moment because this database is completely empty. I'm using a very low amount of CPU because I have no workload on this database, but I'm just trying to show you what you can use in order to monitor the database and check when this service has to be scaled. For the DBCS, we don't have automatic scaling. So you have to scale the service manually in case you need more resources. The service will not scale automatically. You can write some scripts and you can use the REST APIs to monitor the resources and control the scaling automatically. But by default on the screen here in the Cloud Console, I don't have any automatic scaling available. I just need to check the metrics and scale up the system whenever I consider it necessary. So going back to the lab, this is the end of the lab, and thank you for watching.